Thank you. So we're starting tonight meeting with the Conservation Commission, the Park and Rec Commission, the Open Space and Recreation Committee, and we're going to discuss field usage, trail developments, and whatever else you guys want to talk about, I guess.
The Medfield Conservation Commission, the charges of the commission to administer Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, stormwater management, and the town of Medfield wetland bylaws, to acquire and to maintain town-owned conservation land as open space. The commission will continue to hold public hearings for any project within the jurisdiction of Massachusetts and the Medfield wetland bylaws. The commission will continue to monitor all projects within its jurisdiction for compliance with any permits issued by the commission. The Conservation Commission will continue to attend various workshops and keep themselves current with new laws, revision to current laws, and the rules and regulations. The commission will review its current wetlands bylaws and rules and regulations to assess its status in meeting the needs and protecting the town and the wetland resource area. The commission will remain active in reviewing possible parcels of land for open space acquisition. The commission will update its conservation land in Medfield, Massachusetts pamphlets to include any new parcels that are open for the use by the public. Now, the commission will continue to oversee these activities, and we've been doing this right along all the way. And the clean water pond management is handled by Bobby Kennedy, and the community gardens is Betty and Neil Sanders, and the invasive plants committee is George Darrell, and open space and recreation is planning committee is Zab Agler. And I think at this time, George, you're going to speak to the invasive plants. These are the invasive plants that we're checking throughout the area. So.
I'm George Darrell. The invasive plant committee was conceived after I had been studying invasive plants for several years and noticing some particularly nasty plants in and around Medfield. And some of these plants are difficult to remove, and a certain amount of expertise is needed to do it. And I thought that maybe we'd have a subcommittee under the commission to advise and monitor and advise in cooperation with trails and open space and all the various committees that have to do with wild land. I'll just give one example so I'm not too obscure here. There's a plant called Japanese knotweed, which just by its look is nasty. Although I've heard that some people like the way it looks. But this plant has the ability to put rhizomes out, which are underground stems that can go up through asphalt, can go through concrete. And my concern was in finding it around the public buildings right here in town, particularly the Historical Society. The Historical Society has an infestation right now of this plant, which is very difficult to remove. And I'll put in a plug now that I would love to see a little momentum to get this cleaned up, because what it means to leave it is it will spread, and it can go like across the street, going underneath the pavement of Pleasant Street, and end up in the yard across the street. There is already
You'll send out a rhizome that'll go like 20 feet?
It will go, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Around 23 feet. Yeah.
Wow.
So that the idea of the committee is to be a monitoring body, an advisor for the commission when there are problems. And we've got some great plant people such as Betty Sanders. I've got a couple of world-renowned botanists at my beck and call. So we thought it would be a great adjunct to all the various committees, and there are a few that are really overlap with what we want to do, and keep Medfield beautiful and keep the integrity of our buildings going, historical spots especially. So that's about what it is.
Excellent. I can tell you that when you brought the issue of the Japanese knotweed to us last summer, I realized that I had an infestation of it in my backyard. I had no clue as to what it was until it had been brought up as an issue last summer. And I went after it with Roundup. Is that the appropriate thing?
Yes, it is.
It took me, I sprayed it like 3 times, and
Yeah.
and then it started dying, but by then it was starting to be fall. So
Well,
I'm not
the-
sure whether I killed it or not,
Yeah.
but I'll see next summer.
The big issue with this plant is that it's really a project to get rid of it, and it's
Very
not a,
successful plan.
cannot just spray it and have it die. It'll die on you and it'll look great, like it's dead, and it's just, all of the energy of the plant is underground, and it can wait years and come back. So you use the right chemical because it's a systemic chemical that will go down to the roots where all the energy is being stored.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is you want to kill the plant underground to really get rid of it.
Yeah.
But it's a 3-year process. You can poison it, you can cut it, and it's going to take you 3 years most likely.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Wow.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm signed up. Is somebody doing the Historical Society grounds or not at this point?
I talked with Dave Temple. I, kind of outlined what needs to be done. I can't go and use Roundup on the plants at the Historical Society because I need a license to do it that way. Even if I bought it from Will's, and I can't take it over there and spray those plants, but he could do that. And I know that there was some cutting done. Cutting often will just make the plant more vigorous. So the best thing you can do is cut it, and there's timings, and we can talk more about it, but there's timings to cut it, before flowering especially. And when you cut it, you can paint the stalk so that instead of spraying, it'll be much more effective. It'll get into the vascular system and go right to the roots.
Wow.
Oh,
Hey,
so
I have a
you paint
question
the herbicide on the stalk?
Yes.
See, when you used the Roundup, did it kill it? Because I've used Roundup in the past, and it just destroys everything in the area.
It didn't kill it,
It
no.
didn't? Was it the wrong time of the year?
It might have been the wrong Roundup. It was one of those, I got the Roundup
Spring
that you mix
sometimes
it
will not.
yourself, and I don't know whether I mixed the right concentration or not, but I ended up spraying it 3 separate times, actually. And it seemed to abate at that point, so I'm hopeful. I'll just keep an eye on it for next year.
I don't want to take a lot of time with the technical stuff, but if you spray under the leaf as well,
Oh.
the absorption is actually more
Better
effective
under the leaf.
underneath the leaf. So if you're going to do spray, and better than spray is the wiping the cut stalk. And that way, because Roundup is non-selective, it should kill everything, as Ralph says. It's good to do it that way as well, because you're getting individual, if you have a small
Yeah.
infestation.
That plant had been so successful that there were basically nothing else growing in that particular spot. It
Yeah,
had moved everything else out,
absolutely,
pretty much.
absolutely.
And it was growing up some trees, too. And I know that we had some down on Curve Street, where it goes over the railroad tracks. Did we get that taken care of?
Well, the DPW went down, but I think they cut it or pulled it, so
They
I'm
did.
not sure that.
That
will
was
be,
really,
yeah.
that was the black swallowwort. We had a big infestation of black
Oh, well,
swallowwort.
that's the one that I had then.
Yeah.
All right.
There's Japanese knotweed up Phillips Street.
That's like the bamboo stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's not what I had.
Could I ask, a few years ago, I remember everyone saying that purple loosestrife was an invasive species, and the Charles River used to be loaded with it, and now there doesn't seem to be much. are there some natural cycles to these plants where they overgrow themselves and kill themselves off, or?
Well, what's natural about it is we released a biological,
Oh,
which
okay,
means
so there's, okay.
they isolated a bug that likes to just eat the purple.
Oh, okay, so that was a calculated
Yes,
strategy
yes.
to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're still monitoring the effects, but as you said, it cleaned it up nicely.
Hmm.
However, there may be some side effects that weren't that great.
And then every once in a while you hear that there are tree species that are invasive and they don't sell them anymore, like I think, was it Norway maple?
Norway maple.
The Norway maple, which was a beloved tree
Yeah.
for some time, because it was a great shade tree and it impervious to disease. Bugs won't eat it. However, what it does is it shades so well. If you have a Norway maple and you don't prune it and let it go, you'll have dirt eventually underneath around it. Even grass won't grow under it. The problem there is not so much if you want a Norway maple, you know, in your yard, that's fine, but the seeds and so forth are going into the woods, and this plant will grow in the woods where a lot of other plants need more sun, like Japanese knotweed we don't need to worry too much about it going in the woods because it likes lots of sun. Norway maple will go in and it will shade out all of our maples, all of our oaks. It'll take over. You will have a lovely stand of Norway maple and nothing else.
And we planted lots of burning bushes, and they're now considered an invasive species.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with this stuff,
Yeah.
it just seems that,
Yeah,
You can't buy them anymore at Lovel's.
yes.
yeah.
But I think we have some outside of town hall.
Yeah, we have some downstairs.
Yeah.
I have some in my house too.
Is there any time of the year where it's more effective to go out to get them? Most of these plants, any time are they more,
Well,
do they grow more?
yeah, well, different
Are they
plants.
seasonal?
Different plants have different timings, you know, like you've got annuals and perennials,
Yeah.
and you've got biennials, which will bloom every other year. In the year they don't, they have a rosette usually down at ground level. Usually when you're trying to attack an invasive plant, one of the best times to cut is before flowering, before it sets seed, so that you're not spreading the problem.
What time of the year is that, George? Now?
That depends, because they'll set seed at different times of year,
Okay.
and it's really up to that particular plant what it wants to do.
Seem-
George. Any other questions for George?
So there's going to be an ongoing effort with the invasive species then to try to clean them up around town?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is between beavers and ticks and invasive trees and plants, we're at war with nature almost. It's a
Really.
holding action, so.
We need to teach the deer to eat the bamboo.
Yeah. Last time that our committee came before the selectmen, I think it was in June, maybe early June, and what we had done at that time was we had kind of shared with you the what we had done or what we had received in terms of the community survey responses, and from that we had over the course of the summer and the autumn. From that we basically developed our several more of the components of the recreation or open space and recreation plan update. Including basically the community vision and our basically our summary of our community needs, both from the standpoint of open space and from the standpoint of active recreation purposes. What I've distributed to you here is basically our 5-year action plan, and this is informed by the responses that we got from the survey. It's also and it basically it attempts to basically boil down the important broad goals. It kind of encapsulates what we've also summarized in our community vision section, which will be which is part of the plan. To a certain degree, there is some repetition or some continuation with the goals and recommendations that were expressed in the last plan update in the early part of the 2000s, and this is natural because the process of or the practice of developing and acquiring and maintaining open space is a continual one. It's not it's not one where you build a building and then okay, now you go on to the next project per se. So again, what you see here is basically 5 general, or what we call basically broad goals. There is an additional, which basically states our overreaching desires from a community, from a town standpoint, is expressed to us through the survey. One thing that unfortunately I neglected to include here was, and there's an intermediate step between goals and recommendations, and that's called objectives. The goal is a broad statement of your desires and your vision. The objectives are what you plan, what you want to accomplish in furthering those goals. I will certainly, after tonight, I will distribute that to the Board of Selectmen and you, Christine, and Mike as well. Unfortunately, it's not part of here, but what you do see again is what we call the third and most specific step in the 5-year action plan, and that's the recommendations. That's the how when it comes to the action plan. A number of these recommendations actually are going to, in some cases, are in the process of being realized. For example, you'll see under goal number 1, recommendation F, complete the purchase of designated parcels of Medfield State Hospital. Mike, I understand this is almost done.
Close to it, yeah.
Right.
Well, never say never, I guess. You never know.
Right,
But, yeah.
almost done.
Yeah.
Other things that we would definitely want to consider as being probably more in the short term to foreseeable term would be, for example, goal 2 under scenic views, maintain existing open spaces at Medfield State Hospital, and excuse me, and things of that nature. In back of the recommendations, what you'll see is this very nicely done 5-year action plan summary, kind of in the form of a spreadsheet. And thanks to our committee member, Jonathan Heinrichs, who basically put the recommendations in this format for us. And this is a very helpful template because it tells who's primarily responsible, or the lead agency, for carrying out the recommendations. And then it also includes other agencies and the legal or the legal mechanisms or legal means by which they can be accomplished. One thing I will say in terms of the action plan summary here, you'll see on the left there where it says action year. You see most of them have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that basically means it's something that could be ongoing through a 5-year period. For example, but when you go down to goal 1F, recommendation F, complete the purchase of designated parcels. Hopefully that will be accomplished in the next year. So, and there is some refinement that we have yet to do with the action years here, because this was basically just completed last week. So we will be discussing this further in the next meeting of the committee. So again, that's kind of a little bit of a recap in a progression of where we've been, what we have now determined to be the goals, and the how in terms of what we're going to do, in terms of how we're going to accomplish the what. And that's where we are at this point in time. And I will mention that Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, you've probably recognized by now, there's an open space component and there is a recreation component. And I have not included the recreation component here because I believe that will be discussed in further detail by the Parks and Recreation Committee, I believe, tonight as well. So,
Excellent. Okay. This is a great document. Thank you guys
Very
for doing
nice.
this.
It is very
A lot
interesting.
of work.
It's really kind of nice to see. Yeah.
And I see that you've assigned a lot of things to the Board of Selectmen, so
Gotta get going.
It's one way to get even with them for giving me all this
no
work.
good deed goes unpunished, right, Pete?
Make sure you underline those too.
but the good news is that it looks like we have 5 years to do all of them,
That's right,
other
exactly,
than
yeah.
by the state hospital, so,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
which we're supposed to do in the next month, so.
That's good.
And I think that's one of the things, yeah, if you could refine the years, because
We will.
if certainly, as someone who procrastinates, if I'm given 5 years to do stuff, I'll do it all in the last year.
Sure.
Um,
Yep, we will do that.
You know, just one very quick reaction to this. I saw the wildlife habitat thing, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. Part of what I think is very good about our Lyme disease committee work is that the deer destroy the understory in the forests, and that we're losing a lot of wildlife habitat because of
Yeah.
that. And so I think that it might be interesting, that you might think about whether or not you want to include a line there for the Lyme disease study committee and the work that they're doing to try to improve the forest habitat for additional animals other than deer, basically.
Okay.
I mean, we used to have a rough grouse in our neighborhood, and I don't think you have rough grouse around Medfield anymore at all, because I think the deer have eaten everything that they used to eat. Or,
Okay.
We still have
We'll take
land
that under
we're
advisement.
investigating,
you
and
just use the microphone that.
the land down off of Play Street. And this is an area with the gardens down there.
Oh, the Holmquist property, yeah.
Yeah, and the Holmquist property, and we're looking possibly for across the road there where we had the sheep. We don't have them anymore, so that we're looking for possible usage in this area, so that whole area is available. So we will be looking into certain projects that may come before us, and these are areas that we can utilize and
land and stuff,
very
yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the other things that we use we'll have the same things that we use every time. We'll have, in the next few days and weeks and years, people are gonna come in here and they're gonna add on and this and that. So we'll still have this thing, day by day and week by week, projects that we'll be handling.
Sure.
And that doesn't seem to let up.
Yeah. Ralph, one of the things that we've been asking every group is about their sort of 5-year plans. I mean, obviously, Rob's got just an incredibly detailed 5-year plan here. Does the the Conservation Commission, have anything in terms of thinking forward for the next 5 years that you wanted to focus on? I mean, certainly something like the Holmquist property that you manage, any of the properties that you manage, you might be thinking about uses of those, I would assume?
I'm not sure. We'll have to wait for someone to come in with some suggestions. Somebody may want to come in. I don't know what we would use it for at this time, but it's there, it's available, and it's fenced off and could be used a lot of things. And
Okay.
if somebody came in with some suggestion, I'm sure would be willing to sit and listen to it. Because the gardens have, since they've expanded beautifully, and they're working very nice now.
Yeah,
And whether that is going to expand, it seems to expand every year
yeah,
down
yeah.
there in the gardens, so that's a big plus we have down there.
That's a great facility for people.
Yeah, a great
yeah.
facility, and it's been very effective.
So one of the things that occurs to me for the Holmquist land, that would seem like a natural would be a farm or something. If you, I think it might be very interesting in town to have a farm.
A
Is that-
farm,
Yeah. Is that something that the Concom has thought about at all?
I don't believe that has come before us at all.
All right.
It does seem, though, that in the past few years, the definition of conservation has expanded to include growing food locally, and so that you don't have to ship it, and use a lot of energy bringing it across the country. So that might be something that in the future that, as you update the plans, you might want to look into
Good possibility.
agricultural uses of the conservation land that still would fit within the definition of passive use.
That's one of the things that was identified in the survey. That, quite a few people wanted to see, perhaps something done within the town, or encouraging use of, certain town lands, open lands, for local agricultural.
Definitely.
One of my favorite ideas has been to get the kids in town to raise Christmas trees. I think it's a 7-year horizon, so that, if you plant them now, plant it in 3rd grade, you can harvest it when you're in 10th grade. Might be a nice thing for the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, or the whatever other group in town to do.
That'd be a good idea.
The tax classification hearing is at 7:30, and you need to proceed with the public hearing for the
Okay.
classification.
We're gonna take
Sorry about that.
we're gonna take a short break and come back to Park and Rec. Sorry about that. And so we'll hear from the assessors. Ed Beard and Tom Sweeney are here.
Sorry about that. Just trying to keep everybody legal.
We're gonna start the hearing by reading the legal notice from the newspaper. Tax hearing, 11/18/14, legal notice. Tax classification hearing, Town of Medfield. The Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on November 18, 2014, at 7:30 PM at the Medfield Townhouse, 459 Main Street, to discuss local property tax policy. The hearing will examine the questions of adoption of percentages of local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal property, for the next fiscal year. The Board of Assessors will provide all information and data relevant to making such a determination, and the board's written opinions on the subject will be filed with the Selectmen. And that was published in the Medfield Press on October 31, on Halloween.
Mr. Chairman, member of the board, Mark Fisher as well. My name is Ed Beard, member of the Board of Assessors. I'm here with Tom Sweeney to present the annually required by state law classification hearing with you folks. You act upon our recommendation as to whether to maintain a unified tax rate or a split tax rate. As you know, under the law, you have the authority to classify properties with different tax rates. The classes we have are, if you will look at the second page of the handout, you have residential. Open space doesn't matter because that's rolled into another class of residential land. Residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Those are our 4 classes. You have the authority under the law to classify, to tax at a different rate than the residential rate, the commercial, industrial, and personal property. Our recommendation this year, as it has been for decades past, is that we retain a unitary tax rate, and I'll tell you why. If you will look at the column A to the far left on the second page, residential, the percentage of assessable property in the town of Medfield, 94.5191% is classified residential. The other categories all combined comprise a total of 5.4809%. The effect, if you were to split the rate, would be overwhelmingly burdensome on the commercial property. If you'll flip to the cover page now, please. You have 2 hypotheticals. The first one would be with a no-shift factor, which is our recommendation to you once again. In that case, in the hypothetical, a $600,000 property would be taxed at the projected tax rate of $1604 for fiscal 2015. I will emphasize that that is still a projected rate. We aren't yet signed off by Department of Revenue, but we're assuming that that will be the case. So again, back to the hypothetical, if you have a unitary tax rate, a $600,000 residence assessed value of $600,000 would have a tax bill of $9,624. Keeping that rate the same for a commercial parcel, a $600,000 assessment would likewise result in a tax bill of $9,624 for fiscal 15. Now, in the hypothetical alternative, if you were to vote to split the rate, which would be against our recommendation, to the maximum level allowed by law, which would be 150% shift residential to commercial, the residential tax rate on that same $600,000 property would be reduced to $15.57 per thousand, with a resulting tax bill of $9,342. The commercial property, $600,000 assessment, would have a radical increase in the tax rate to $24.06, resulting in a tax bill of $14,436. The benefit to the residential house would be a de minimis reduction in bill of $282, and there would be a major increase in the commercial tax bill to the amount of an increase of $4,812. So, unless we want to drive out business from the community of Medfield or not encourage new business, it would seem wise to continue the policy that you have maintained for at least 50 years and retain the unified tax rate of $16.04, assuming that is approved by the Department of Revenue.
Do you need a vote from us?
We need a vote
from
of your
us?
board,
Okay,
yes.
so I'd make a recommendation that we go with the adoption of the Board of Assessors, which is with the unified tax rate, projected tax rate of 16.04 at the moment, but at least a unified tax rate.
I'll second that.
Good.
Is there any further discussion? Any questions from anybody in the room? All those in favor?
All right,
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
good, thank you.
Should always
it,
be
huh?
that easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ed, remind us how long it's been since you were a selectman?
I served from, do you have to do this to me? 1975 to 1981. So that's, do the math.
Yeah, it's a while.
That's a long time.
35, almost 50 years, right? Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
almost 40.
40.
Oh, you make me feel a lot better, Mike. That's good. 40 years.
Wait a minute, you're figuring our tax rate?
I was gonna say, my numbers should be better.
Close enough, you just get in the ballpark, that's all
Okay,
right.
within 10 years, plus or minus, right?
I know that because I came around the same
There
time as you
go.
did. so-
Yeah, you were here a month before I was elected.
Yes,
That's right.
yeah.
Just a month before.
I remember you when you were a young lad.
That's 40 years ago, right?
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
All set, thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Feeney requests selectmen vote to sign Chapter 90 final report, $99,297.11 for paving Spring Street from Granite Street to Main Street, and the total amount was like $500,000 or
Right,
something.
exactly, yep, so I'll second that.
I'll move, and you're seconding. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, one thing while the
Yes.
assessors is still here, you have to come into my office before you leave tonight and electronically sign the tax, LA5 tax form indicating that you've held the hearing and voted to have a unified tax rate, so
Okay.
don't leave home without it, I guess.
yeah,
Don't go home with. Thank you very much.
Don't go home without it.
good, thanks so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Yep.
Appreciate all the work you guys do.
We appreciate the work you do.
Good night.
Welcome.
My name's
Yes,
Coyote Lewis. I'm interim director of the Parks and Recreation Department. And the commission has been discussing with Open Space Committee the revision of the current goals and objectives. Now, the document I just handed you is just a working draft, more so how the commission views open space. And what I'm going to give you is more so an emphasis on the recreation goals and objectives moving forward.
yeah,
So if you turn to page 7 of your packet,
yep,
we basically classified it into 3 main goals. First one would be develop recreation facilities to address the diverse needs of the community. First and foremost, trying to build that new community center on a new site, finalizing the site, securing funding for an evaluation of open space, and updating from our end a recreation plan with cost revenue projections. Another big component of that in terms of the facilities would be providing ADA compliance, not only to that new center, but to all public facilities to ensure that we're compliant. In addition to that would be expanding the trail system to link to existing conservation and recreation areas, and improving the quality of town properties that we currently manage. That moves into directly to goal 2 would be providing the opportunities based on the facilities we do have for all cultures. We're looking at ensuring program quality, incorporating parks into our programs, so on and so forth. And another big piece of this was like just public awareness of our park system as a whole, the type of things we're doing that in terms of outreach, enhancing those relationships with other town organizations and departments. And last but not least, goal 3 would be improving the communication with an organization such as the schools. I know we use their facilities, but enhancing and fostering that relationship and making sure we can kind of share those resources. For example, I know they use our fields, we use their facilities for basketball leagues, so on and so forth. To continue, we will be in constant contact with the Open Space Committee to make sure that the goals that we have outlined in this open space, in the open space goals they have in their plan, and theirs are in our plan, and vice versa.
Sure.
If you look towards the draft action plan on page 12, just emphasizing the recreation here, it gives you an idea as to we would be the lead agencies for all of these initiatives. So if you're on page 12, you'll see recreation at the top. So moving forward, making sure we're in compliance with all the other town committees and the selectmen, DPW, planning board, a permanent building committee, to make sure these things are set and ready to go, and giving a timeline for all of these sub-projects as we move forward. Beyond that, I feel like we have improved communication, and we look forward to enhancing the relationship we have with the committee as they update the plan.
Excellent.
Looks like you guys have been very busy doing a lot of work, so this is great.
This is very nice.
And I see also that you've assigned the selectmen a lot of things to do as well.
Notice you'll see some things with question marks. And that's where that continual conversation,
Sure, yeah.
communication with the committee will be having, so.
Yep.
So we're more so having additional conversations to make sure everything's kind of aligned as we move forward.
And like with the last group that had assigned things to us, you've given us 5 years to do a lot of this stuff as well.
Beautiful.
And if you give us 5 years, we'll probably put it off till the last year,
Fiscal year
unfortunately.
20, yeah.
So you might wanna tell us what year we're supposed to be doing what in, so
Yeah.
that we can really focus on it.
That's excellent.
Well, this is a
Will
great
do.
planning
Very,
document.
very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really is helpful.
Any additional questions?
I just think it's nice to see that, we have all this open land, and because of budget constraints, and we've concentrated on acquiring land and protecting lands, but I think it's good that we're now looking at how to utilize those lands for the benefit of the residents, and
Yeah.
in terms of your programming. And I do think Park and Rec has done a great job on improving the quality of the recreation space. I think the grounds maintenance is really
It's just fabulous.
terrific,
Oh,
yeah.
The fields are
Really
fields are
lucky to-
gorgeous and everything, yeah.
We need to figure out, although, like the issue with the grass at the Council on Aging facility, that
Yeah.
the Park and Rec employee doesn't have time to do that. We need to figure out a way to spring some more time free for the Park and Rec person to take care of all of the town facilities, I think.
Yes, yeah, it's, every time we acquire a piece of land, you're acquiring new
Maintenance. yeah.
maintenance
Buildings and stuff like that.
responsibilities, so it does become,
Yeah.
We can plant those invasive species and then we won't have to maintain them.
put in a bunch of Norway maples all over town.
That's right, we don't have to worry.
I'm just-
Yeah, no, I just think it's great too that you've incorporated in your plan, very important to see that you're always looking and striving towards recreation, open space opportunities for all the residents of Medfield, all age groups, which I think is very, very good. Just trying to look at, really, what can we offer for everyone that lives in town, different opportunities for them
Yep.
to exercise and get outside, yeah.
And I like seeing the ADA compliance. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very
No, I
hard with
think very good.
recreational facilities, but
Yeah,
it's a nice goal.
And it's really a fine balance too from a recreation management standpoint, trying to get the conservation incorporated into your programs and from the management too. So are we having those conversations with Brian, like about how we can include stewardship
Yeah.
of the land we do acquire
yeah,
in terms of the maintenance as well, to make
Yes,
sure we're doing it in a wise and efficient way.
yeah, no, I think that's terrific. Excellent.
Yeah, I think the hospital is going to be a big challenge because there's such a large expanse of
Mm-hmm.
land up there. Now, a lot of it is going to be maintained by the state, but we
Yeah.
do have the 39 acres that
Yeah,
we've sort of committed to Park and Rec.
yeah,
And I think it's going to take a lot of work to figure out how to
how to
incorporate
do that, yeah, a big project, yeah.
cheaper though.
Yes, Mr. Massaro?
I would just wanted to make a suggestion, not having seen the plans, but if the two committees that you heard from tonight, they might consider adding to their list of the town boards and committees that they're interfacing with the Medfield State Hospital
That's a
Master
very good
Planning
idea.
Committee.
They're in there.
We-
They did.
We have requested that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
they're
Well, like I
included.
said, I haven't seen it, but I just,
Good,
thank you, that's all.
excellent.
Thank you
Terrific,
so
thank you, very
much.
much. Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate everything you're doing. One of the things that got highlighted on the agenda was the trail development. Is anybody going to talk about trail development?
Don't know.
I don't know who's. Is there anybody that's looking at trails and what we should have for trails? And, I mean, I'm very interested in trying to get the trails to connect to the different parts of town. That was one of the things that I had a light go off in my head about the Bay Colony Rail Trail, that it provides a connection from Harding Street up to North Street for that whole neighborhood, where Blacksmith and Colonial are, so that the kids can get closer to town without having to go down the dangerous parts of Harding Street. But it seems to me if we could have trail connectors like that throughout the town. When the Pine Street people came in, they said that all of their kids were using some connector to get to the downtown that I didn't know exactly where it was, but it wasn't going down Pine Street.
If you look under goal 4, and again, this is it's a broad expression of the community's interest and vision, where it says expand links between
Yeah.
open spaces and recreation sites. Virtually every recommendation has to do with the development of trails, the management of trails, and basically, using the existing standards for trail maintenance and management that have already been adopted by the Conservation Commission town-wide in terms of the trail system. So it is in there
Okay, all right, good.
under goal number 4.
Yep. And so, and Rob, one of the things that I did notice on your, I noticed that it referenced the trail committee, and I know that 14 years ago, I served on a trail committee, a town trail committee, but I thought that had ceased to operate. Is that still going, or is that? We came up with standards that were, if
Yeah,
the town was gonna
well,
build a trail, it should look
yeah.
like this. We had somebody from the trustees that was with us, and I don't remember who else was with us.
The conservation did basically adopt those types of standards for those types of trails that would run through conservation managed lands.
Yep, okay.
As far as like the trustees and the other conservation organizations, I don't know if they have the same types of standards or not. I'm not sure if it's uniform or not. I don't know if anybody else has that.
Let me ask Chris about the map. Wasn't somebody gonna walk all the trails in town with a GPS, and we were gonna have a good map? Do we have that now?
There were pieces of it. The gentleman who was doing that is no longer in town.
Oh, that's David Lafreniere?
Yeah,
So we have some of the data, but not a full.
Not everything.
not everything.
Yes.
If you go on the medfieldrec.com homepage, there's a link to all of the trails within Medfield that were mapped out by a gentleman that we posted on our homepage.
Okay.
Okay.
So you could kind of see what the infrastructure would be like.
That's-
It's just a question of like the maintenance, upkeep, and expansion
So
of
did you
that.
just link to David Lafreniere's homepage?
Yes, essentially. Yeah, that Verizon
Try to
one.
make sure that we get that data
Yeah.
in case he ever takes it down.
We need to look into. I'll look into backing that up too. So.
We have the data in our GPS.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. Good. That'd be a great Eagle Scout project for
We
somebody
go.
to walk around with a backpack.
Chris, speaking of GPS, the flyover, which is critical to a lot of the open space and recreation plans, I know we had hoped to get that done through Arlington last year. That
They were
it-
not able to do a full flyover because of weather. And we're actually, Arlington, I just talked to them today, we're actually looking at having it reflown next year at no additional cost to the town.
Oh, good, that'd be
We've
great.
got a little portion of Medfield flown this year, and they want to give us data from 2014 and 2015. And so the towns in this association have sent a letter back saying that's not acceptable. We need to have all our data has to be from one
Yeah, one
single
point
year.
two,
So,
yeah.
Okay.
we're discussing that with the company that was hired through MAPC.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of changes. The last one's about 12 years old, I think, anyway, isn't it?
I think it's actually even a little older than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it'd be good to get a flyer. I think it'd
Yeah, we
help
were
in a
hoping
lot
it would all
of
be
these
in place
efforts.
now.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate with the weather.
Yeah, it was a rainy spring.
Mhm.
So back when I was on the ZBA, I noticed that Norma Cronin had these aerial maps of the whole town. Do we have those in a digital form? I was fascinated
We do.
because my neighborhood was all a gravel pit at the time they took the pictures.
We have the digital form from when we flew it about 14 years ago. So we have the digital files of that.
I think that original flyer was done as part of the sewer projects when we were putting sewer in.
Oh,
Yeah, it was-
did
okay.
flyovers
When
for
there
a
were no
lot of them,
houses
yeah.
in my neighborhood, so it had to be before '86.
Mhm. Okay.
Anything else on this topic?
Excellent, good.
And I guess going back to our action calendar then, we have a resignation letter from the Board of Appeals from member Russ Hallisey, longtime member of the ZBA.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he's been a very valuable member. He just has contributed a lot, particularly the last few years. He's-
Yeah.
He sat on some of the very involved and controversial hearings, like the one on the Clark Tavern and the 40B
Yeah,
project and
not easy.
on West Street.
And did they say he was on it since 2000, I think, so 14 years or so? Wow,
So, yeah.
long time.
But
long
he's certainly
time.
bitten off a lot of other projects
He has.
between the Medfield Day and the summer concert
Got a lot of
series
stuff going
and
on,
Christmas lighting series and,
yeah.
Lowell Mason,
yeah.
I think, too.
Yeah.
Ever so
Yes.
interesting codification of the bylaws.
yes, that's right, yes.
Yeah. Superintendent Feeney recommends the selectmen vote to award the one-year tree bid contract to Stumpy's Tree Service.
I'll second that.
Isn't that a great name for a tree
I know it
company?
is, it's good, yeah, I know.
There's got to be a good story there. All in favor?
Aye.
Licenses and permits, Basil Restaurant owner Tom Magoo, manager, requests a time extension on the liquor license to 1 AM on Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 26th.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council on Aging requests a one-day wine and malt beverage permit for their supper club event, which is on November 19 from 4 to 8.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Incidentally, the Permanent
tomorrow
Planning
night.
and Building Committee will be presenting making a presentation tomorrow night for that event on the Public Safety Building.
Oh, good.
So,
Excellent.
The Angel Run Publicity Chair, Diane Smith, requests permission to place signs November 30 to December 7 to promote the registration for the Angel Run event.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Medfield State Hospital status update.
Just wanted to give you an update on our timeline.
Timeline, yep.
The planning board signed the A&R plan last evening.
Mm-hmm.
The comment period for Mass Historic ends tomorrow.
Okay,
We are hoping to have those comments back, and if we all agree, we'll be having a joint meeting with the local historic and the historic district on Tuesday night, which is your November 25th meeting.
okay,
So I'll sign the MOA,
Okay.
which will then be hand-carried back to Mass Historic, which will be left for the commissioner's signature, which will then be hand-carried back to here on December 1st
Okay,
for everybody to sign the LDA on December 2nd.
okay.
So that is the timeline if everybody agrees with everybody else's comments.
Oh, excellent,
And
good.
every single time I have laid out a timeline, it has been wrong, so I'll send an amendment out tomorrow.
Yeah,
Current timeline. And we apparently have to sign the MOA before we can sign the LDA, so
Correct.
we have to, the MOA has to make its way around to all the parties first.
So if we, right now, if we sign the LDA on December 2nd, the
yep,
plan is to close on December 3rd.
exactly, yep, yep.
So the town would own it as of
December 3rd, excellent.
Selectmen's reports.
Just a couple things. It was pretty busy this last week or so. Well, we had a couple things, because we had like last Monday night, they had the Democratic Party had a little get-together for Denise Garlick and Senator Timblethey, can't talk tonight, my God, at the Kingsbury Club, which was nice, just to kind of thank them for their effort working with the state hospital. So I stopped by for a few minutes
They
to
had
say
people
hi.
write comments in a book that they then gave to them, which I thought was a
Yeah,
nice
so
way to
very,
do
very
it.
nice, yeah. So that was very, very nice and stuff. Veterans Day, right, we had the candlelight ceremony there with the luminaries and stuff at 5 o'clock, which is always very nice at Baxter Park and stuff. And it wasn't very cold for a change, so that was
And
very,
it's
very
nice
nice.
because the, Ron Griffin started that breakfast for the veterans in the morning, and then Michelle Doucette seems to have started very successful luminaries in the
So
afternoon.
it's working
we
out
have
nice. I think
we
we've
have
got
two
a
very
nice,
nice,
nice tradition going there and
dignified
stuff like
events.
that. Yeah, I think it works out good. And last Thursday was a busy day for me. I was over with doing my taping, with Jack Peterson on Medfield TV, and then popped out last Thursday night out to one of the mini town halls out in the Indian Hill area and stuff. So chit-chatted with some neighbors out there and talked about most of the concerns or issues they had was just kind of the status on the state hospital, where it was going and stuff, and how close we were to getting that taken care of, and kind of what the timeline was and what the plan was going forward. So we spent quite a bit of time chatting about that. So it was a good meeting out there, and it's always good, like I said, to get the different peoples in the neighborhoods up to date. Gives them a chance, I think, to have the voices be heard. A lot of people, otherwise they wouldn't have a chance maybe to be able to voice any concerns they have. A lot of times people are not going to come to any of our meetings, and certainly not going to speak up at town meeting or anything like that. So it gives people, I think, a nice forum to be able to do that.
I agree, I think it's a
Yeah.
great forum.
Yeah, it works out pretty
How
good.
many people did you get?
We had about 12, I think, and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So,
that's
so
sort of about what seems to turn out.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's always a little difficult, anyways. It was, it's during a weeknight, anyways. And people obviously things, tend to pop up and stuff. And this time of year, I think, is difficult too. It's pitch black by 7 o'clock or so, and it's getting cold and dark. So I think a lot of times people get home from work and then they have good intentions of going back out for a meeting. They say, "No, the hell with it." They're going to
Let's
just
have
stay
dinner
home.
instead.
Yeah, stay home and stuff like that.
They have
So,
to rest up for the leaf raking.
Exactly, and stuff like that. Yeah,
So the last one that I did at Jim and Teresa James's house,
yeah.
they held it outdoors.
Really? Yeah.
And
So
we
we
sat
see nice
around a
weather.
fire
nice.
pit,
Yeah.
but it was a little,
A little cold,
chilly.
chilly. Yeah, I know. This was a little. Wasn't quite.
I was
not too
downwind,
cold.
so I got kind of smoky.
Smoky and stuff like that, yeah. And then just one thing I wanted to kind of bring up that I think will probably be coming up, maybe pop up in some of our future meetings too, as I was kind of brought to my attention. It's out of our purview a bit. It's really a school committee issue. But, the selectmen, we represent everyone in the town of Medfield and stuff, and there's been some changes to the music program in Medfield, and that kind of bothers me personally. And I really kind of take a personal approach to this, having gone through the Medfield school system, graduated in '74, and I was in the Medfield school, the music program from 4th grade on, and it was a very, very important component of my public school life while I was in the Medfield school system. And I guess what they've done, starting, I believe, this fall, it might have been last spring or so, Dale Street School in the 4th and 5th grade is where the kids start to get introduced to the band and the orchestra and the chorus. And they have taken, I believe it's their practice time out of the school curriculum, and the kids have to go before school. I think it's 7:30. And that has seems to have caused quite a bit of concern with a number of parents, obviously, because once again, now the kids that are in the band program in 4th or 5th grade, mom and dad is gonna try to get that kid to school at 7:30 and not on the bus. So they've pulled that component out of the regular school committee, the curriculum there. And it would appear perhaps, I would like to think that, I know there's a group of parents that are working very hard to see if they can reconsider that and see what they can do to modify that program. My fear, and I think any parent's fear, is that the kids that are interested in their kids developing a music program, is that it'll kill the music program, basically. If the kids are going to have trouble getting to school for practice, they'll drop out. And that's the feeder program. You've got to start in 4th or 5th grade, to start to begin to learn how to figure out how to play a clarinet or a saxophone or something, so that by the time you get to middle school and high school, you've had some years of training and stuff. And if the program kind of gets killed at that level, I think it could be a death knell for the music program in Medfield. And I think we went through this, I think in the 80s or something. I think there was some budget issues and stuff like that, and they really did a job on the music program for a number of years, and it took a lot of work to bring that back. So personally, I would hope that the school committee and everyone would work on it and try to see what they can do to bring it back. And like I said, obviously, it's not our responsibility. We're not in charge of the school program. That's what we have a school committee for. But personally, it bothers me a lot that, there might be the beginnings of starting to kind of kill or do some damage to the school program and music program. It's a big deal, I think. It was important to me, and more importantly, if Richard was here, we could talk about the historic aspect of the things. I mean, Lowell Mason, who was born in Medfield, is the father of music education in the public schools. So it's a little embarrassing to think perhaps that the town where Lowell Mason was born perhaps is looking at diminishing the role of music education in the public schools. I don't know. Doesn't sound like it's the right thing to do.
Is there a reason? Are they lengthening the other periods, or?
I'm not really quite sure. I'm sure I'm sure there's some time constraints, and I'm sure with, I know they're always changing the teaching and the testing standards. I'm sure they're running into conflicts there as far as trying to fit that into the curriculum, for different standardized testings. However, there's a lot to do besides school, besides taking tests and everything else. I mean, I really think the arts are a very, very important component of your public education. I mean, it's something that's with you the whole life. And you hate to see that stuff get cut, because that's the easy thing to do, and it always comes back to bite you.
These days, the emphasis seems to be on STEM.
Yeah,
Everything you hear about is STEM.
yeah,
Science, technology, what
Yeah.
else in math?
Engineering and math.
Engineering,
yeah.
math.
However, you could make a very good case. I think everyone pretty much understands that there's a strong correlation between music and math skills. I mean, there's an unbelievably strong correlation there that with an aptitude for music or working with music, that it helps your math skills. It's kind of known. So if you're interested in having your kids develop their math skills better, then maybe we should do a little more emphasis on the music program and help with that testing there and stuff. So anyways, so it was my little soapbox for tonight on that. But like I said, it's something that kind of bothers me a bit, and I'm hoping that we'll hear a little bit more about that, and that maybe there'll be some progress towards maybe changing the tide a bit on that. A little concern to me personally. So, that's my-
I've had people talk to me about that as well, and I'm very interested to find out why it's happening,
Yeah,
because I think it works nicely to have the music during the school day instead
Yeah.
of before and after, which is
Yeah.
what I guess is happening. It's getting moved out to
yeah,
the
Moved on
ends
the
of,
curriculum.
beginning and ends of the day,
yeah,
before and after school, but
yeah.
We can talk
I-
to the superintendent and have an answer for you.
Yeah, I think that would be great, I said, because that bothers me a lot personally, it really does. So that's it for
Thank you.
me.
thank you. I just mentioned that the Medfield State Hospital Master Planning Committee, we have a heck of a name for a committee, met, and they mainly talked about the security issues at the state hospital and what they're gonna be doing in terms of securing the property once the town owns it, and which may be in a matter of
Days.
3 weeks or
Minutes.
something. And as the chief said, it's just, it's just another neighborhood in his
Yep.
mind. So it'll get incorporated into Medfield police security through that. I had my selectman office hours at the beginning, the first Friday of the month, and I heard about dogs in the cemetery from someone who lives next to the cemetery, and actually got kind of an education about what goes on in the cemetery. And this is somebody who does have a dog and likes to keep walking it there. But she had a lot of observations from being in the cemetery a lot about other things that are going on. If you're looking at dogs, there are other issues other than just dogs in the cemetery, was her point. So that I've got a list now to talk to the cemetery commissioners about the next time I see them. The Lyme Disease Study Committee I went to, and I can report that what can I report from them? They're in the middle of their hunt. Oh, I know, it's the
Right,
rut.
yeah.
That's maybe the most important thing to understand at the moment, is that the rut is when the deer start mating, and when the rut starts, the deer just start tearing around everywhere. And so that when
Running
you're
across
driving,
roads, yeah.
when you're
yeah.
driving, be careful now, because the deer are gonna be running across the roads for the next couple of weeks. The number of deer that have been culled are similar to the past years so far. The hunt just started, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact dates. But, and they're still finding other illegal hunters in
Mhm.
town.
Yep.
And that's one of the other benefits of our
Yep.
town hunt, is that these people who are very active are finding and asking these illegal hunters to take down their stands and not hunt illegally without a permit in town. I went to the Medfield Energy Committee meeting, and they're going forward with that solar photovoltaic. Mike and I and Marie Nolan talked for about an hour with an attorney from Wilmer Hale. Wilmer Hale, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Used to be Hale and Dorr, but I guess they've gone
Oh,
through a lot of
Oh,
iterations.
they lost door? They lost, yeah, they lost
I
part of
don't
their
know.
name,
Yeah, he
yeah.
didn't make the cut, I guess, when the new
New name.
partnership formed.
Jeez.
And we got actually a huge amount of good information from him
It was-
in an hour.
It was very helpful, yeah.
Good.
So that, and this is primarily, Mike wants to start with the one that's behind the wastewater treatment
That'd be
plant,
great. That'd be really
that
good.
the town will own.
Yeah, nice.
And that's the one that, for which Bob McDonald, the operator of the wastewater treatment plant, has gotten a state grant for up to $180,000, which is great.
It's unbelievable.
We're meeting,
180,000 or 20% of the cost, and the cost is ballparked at $650,000 for the.
right, which would give you about 130,000 of the grant that could be used, so.
Good.
They are meeting, the Water and Sewer Board is meeting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Mhm.
to review their capital projects, so.
Good.
Hopefully they seem to be getting very interested in this solar at the treatment plant also.
Good.
So,
That'd be great.
Just very briefly, I went to the Medfield High School Winter Sports meeting this past week, and I was impressed with the way the high school does that. I mean, they just, they have all the parents and the students in and give you a general discussion in the gym, and then you break out into your room for your individual sports. But they're very organized. They give you a lot of information in a fairly short amount of time. Medfield Cares About Prevention had a meeting that I went to last week, and I guess the main thing that went on there is that there are now 3 students who are coming to the meetings. And it was actually fascinating. Nick Fergoa, I think is his name, mentioned that when he coached, he's a football player, and so he didn't mention what sport it was, but he said that he was coaching kids who were like 5th and 6th graders, and so they're 11 years old, he
Yeah.
was saying. And that these kids were asking him about the high school parties and what went on. And so that he's in this position of modeling behavior to these young
To
kids.
young kids, yep.
And so that there was discussion about how to institutionalize that in a good way, to have these kids from the high school help out in the middle schools and let the kids know what's what. And And I guess that was about it. Yep.
Excellent.
Informational. Dover ZBA has a hearing on their cell tower on December 9, 7 o'clock, Dover Town Hall, if anybody wants to go to that. And their planning board has a meeting. Oh, our
They
planning board voted
approved,
unanimously to approve the,
Approve the meet.
approval not required, A&R, approval not required plan for our state hospital.
And I believe, is it on the 10th of December, they're also having a
Site.
a balloon flight over the site?
Mhm.
And,
They have a site walk, is it the
Yeah.
10th? I thought it was earlier than that, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
It's,
it's, yeah, the dates I think are in there someplace, yeah, there's a notice
I
in there.
think they're in there, yeah.
In one of
They
those.
changed it, the.
Keep change, well, it
date.
changed all the time, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Probably get delayed again.
And I guess that raises our issue, Mike, as to how our RFP is coming that might take away the need for the Dover to have a cell
Dave,
tower.
Dave Maxon, Mark Sorrell, and myself are getting together Thursday morning to go over that.
Good.
Excellent, so that's moving forward.
And then Thursday afternoon, Ken Feeney is going to go to Milford. If I get done with Dave Maxon and Mark Sorrell, I'll go with them. But there is the consortium that we belong to with the Millbury incinerator
Yep.
that we negotiated the contract. They've renegotiated the contract. Believe it or not, that's coming up on the 10-year mark for
Really?
of the 20-year contract. And my understanding is that Millbury, the owners of the Millbury incinerator, have agreed to lower the cost, the per ton cost of the trash.
Excellent.
So they're having a meeting Thursday at 1 in
Oh, to go
Milford
over
Town
that.
Hall to go over that.
Excellent.
And that you will be required, I believe by the end of December, to vote to accept the new contract.
Okay.
So we will be getting back to you with information as to what that constitutes.
Great. Could be interesting to see what the savings is, you
Yes.
know. Be interesting to
And
see.
we did, we had a meeting this week of the Solid Waste Committee,
Mhm.
and for the first time, we hit 30% on our recycling rate for the month of October.
Mhm.
It's quite a benchmark. We were running in the mid-20s,
Yeah.
and finally we hit 30%, so we're hoping that that's a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
The committee is going to ask you to sign a joint letter with them to thank the SWAP team for the work they've done over the past year. And
They were so
You know, the
organized
swap.
this past year under Nancy Irwin's leadership. They
Yes.
were just remarkably organized.
Really took a lot of tonnage out of the waste stream, if you think about
It
it.
does, yes, yeah.
know?
And they're doing a lot of things. I noticed the sign they put at the driveway thanking people for recycling.
Yeah.
It's just little
Some
things like that.
Little things like that, yeah, you're right.
Increase
they
their
help.
consciousness
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah, I think it's good. A little bit.
Um,
Yeah,
So,
that's good, that's very, very good.
So I found the balloon flight, Mike. The balloon demonstration will be conducted on December 6th at 10 a.m.
December
I don't think
6th.
that's when they're having the site walk, although, but
Yeah.
this is a letter to the ZBA, not to the planning board.
Yeah.
There's a planning board hearing, a meeting on that in Dover as well, but,
Yeah.
and that might be tomorrow night? I don't,
No,
I'm not sure.
I thought it was in December too.
Mm.
Okay.
So now it's time for the jokes?
Is it? We're done?
No, it's not now time to go sign electronically.
Oh, that's right, we gotta go sign that, okay. All right,
Well, that's a joke,
so
isn't it?
we're good.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I guess
you.
We're done.
Hi, I'm Richard DeSaga, and you are watching Medfield.tv.